Okay, this is about I think, what did we do? We made one video where we went through all of this, how to compute the repayment dates. Why don't we switch this to a different date? Okay, now same kind of structure happens where we have our dates occurring in these different time periods. And then we decided to work on this time periods analysis. Okay, and the third thing we did was we just put a debt service account in without any defaults. Okay, in this scenario, I think I increased the cash flow. So with this increased cash flow, we have some cash that occurs after the debt service account is filled up, and then eventually we just allow it all to go out. Now, in this, and then we also remember, let's put a 3% growth in I'm in the dark, so I can't see my keyboard. That's pretty stupid to make a video like that. But that's what I'm doing. It's such a pleasant night out here in Gambia. And where are we? So this time we had some defaults. When we tried to pay our debt service, we kept track of the defaulted debt, and then eventually, with the growth in cash flow, we're able to have some surplus cash, and we pay off our surplus cash, and oh well, we first pay back the debt, don't we, and then we pay off the surplus cash. Now, maybe this is a good, well, how about let's use the 60 scenario. Let's see if I can find this in the dark. Okay. And do I have I hope I have my formula switched to automatic except manual. Auto accept, whatever the heck it was. Okay. Now, where were we? Okay, so now we're going to add a debt service reserve account. So why don't we put the DSRA months. Now, uh, you know, in other videos, especially if we have like a semi-annual, if we would put, maybe I should go in. I don't want to get bitten by too many mosquitoes. 6. Okay. If we put the debt service reserve months in here, we can look at this, but what we have right here is we don't really have monthly debt service anyway. I mean, I suppose we could. This is our repayment, and we have our debt service requirement. I suppose that we could put our monthly debt service, which is the interest. And I really should put this, I think I'm going to have to go inside. Oh, shoot, it's so nice out here, too. Okay, just let me pause the video. Okay, and I'm back. Let's open the, you know, let's get whoops. Let's get the generic macros. I'm going to move some of these around. I think I told you. That's not really interesting to you, I'm sure. Okay, and oops. Okay, Shift Control R should work now. So this is our monthly debt service. Okay, and actually, you know, what we should really do while we're at it is put monthly interest. And if we have a monthly model, we're going to have accrued interest. So let's divide this by 6. I know I shouldn't do that. Okay, I know all you fancy, you're yelling at me now and think, oh, that bad person. And now let's put accrued interest, and we'll just put our opening balance, and then we'll add the interest accrued, and then subtract the interest paid, and then we'll put a closing balance. Now, in a subsequent video, I hope not in the too distant future, because I'm getting really sick of this, we'll and then we take our interest and multiply that by the repayment switch, and we take the opening balance plus this minus this. I hope that this just goes to 0. Yeah, it goes to 0, and then we put this up. So when we present our quarterly or our annual balance sheets, we'll have to work on this with the SUMIF commands. Okay, so we have our defaulted debt, we have our debt service reserve debt service account, and now let's put our debt service reserve account to distinguish it. A reserve account. Okay, and we'll put the opening balance, add no, we won't. Oh, shit. So used to doing that. So we'll put required. How about we'll just put debt service? And then we'll put, you know, this is going to be a mess. I was going to use the offset account to look at this, but I think the required debt service I think that's, well, let's just put the debt semi-annual. How about that? Debt service. Prospective. Debt service. I'm making things too complicated, because the good news is we already have that. That's what this thing is. And it's going to be almost like the debt service reserve account, but less opening balance. And balance of DSRA, and we put required funding. Maybe we'll put distributions when it's negative. Okay, and then so it looks very, very much like the so far that just the regular debt service account, but it's very different. This doesn't build up and draw down. This just stays there. So then we put our opening balance. What's wrong with my spelling today? And well, it's always really shitty. But and then let's add the net funding, which, how about we'll put distributions. Now, And this, I think this, I go around and around with this. Now in this particular case, now we'll put with DRAWALS, withdrawals, and we'll put a closing balance. Now I'm not putting any interest income in all of these. I suppose we could do that, but that's a subject of so many of these other videos. I hope you don't mind that I kind of leave this out. So we take our opening balance away from the beginning balance, and this is our required funding. Now we could, why don't we just start with our how about we'll just assume that we have this much in there. And what did I do here? So we need no funding at the beginning. That means we've put everything in at the start. And we'll leave the withdrawals out for a minute, and then we will put them in the sum, okay? So, whoops. Of course, maybe it's because it's getting late or something. What am I doing wrong? Okay. Now I hope what happened is when we get to the second month, because we put a level repayment, the repayment keeps going down, and then at the very end we're able to take it all out and we get a big positive cash flow. That happens. That always happens. Don't think that you've got some funny looking cash flow in this. So far that's just fine. Now these withdrawals give us cash, so I suppose the question is where to put this cash flow in this. Now I suppose we could, there are two ways to do this. You could say, well, if you've run out of cash, in our downside case, we're not going to take this out, but essentially what we're doing is taking it out and taking all the cash we have and using all the cash to put into the deposits. So we need to be careful about where you're going to put this on the cash flow waterfall. Okay, so why don't we put so we'll put less or add DSRA changes. Okay, so it's really going to be an addition, all right, and this is something completely inconsistent with what I've been telling you. So cash flow after DSRA change. Now the real thing you have to kind of think about is where these things go, what order they have. So we're going to put less a minus number, and then we let's put this in here. Now my friend, shoot, such a good guy in Paris, comes from Iran, and I can't pronounce his name correctly. Shit. Okay, but we use this one, and he had a method kind of to make sure you don't take it from the wrong thing. Okay, so I think we're okay with the rest of these. Oops, no, see, that should come from this one. Shift Control R. Did I press? I'm sure I pressed Shift Control R on that one. Okay, well, maybe I did. Okay, so there we have. So that's the first thing. So now all the DSRA is kind of coming down. All right, and now, okay, but this time, here's what's going to happen. If we have, right now, we'll have no withdrawals from the DSRA account. But if we have a bad year, if we have a bad period, and we have this remaining cash flow down here is negative, before we have a default, I think we can delete this one. Before we can have a default, we can add the withdrawal from DSRA, not from debt service account. That's only when we have negative cash flow. So what we do is just put, as we normally do, we put a maximum, and we put a minus of this, or 0. So we only take it out when it's negative. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is you take the minimum of this, or the amount you have in the debt service reserve account, because if once we take it all out, once we don't have anything left, we can't take anything out. I think that's pretty obvious. And then we can get another subtotal, which is cash flow after DSRA withdrawals. Okay, and that's just going to be, now if we take that account, that's going to be a plus, just like it says. Okay, and I have no idea how to spell that, really. And then we take our default, and this default should be against this one, and the negative amount should be against this one. Okay, hopefully did that. Okay, I'm gonna assume that has that. Okay, and now then finally this withdrawal comes from the cash flow, just like the other ones did. Comes down from the cash flow. We had an exception, okay, and maybe it shouldn't have been an exception, but because this rule is a pretty solid rule, but foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of a petty mind. I hope you've heard that one before. Okay, and then we have this. Now let's put our default in here. So let's switch our cash flow and make our cash flow 30 instead of 60. And when we make our cash flow 30, so let's see what happens. Okay, so the negative cash flow doesn't cause a default. It causes a positive. Now, we try to put the DSRA in here, and we have a negative amount, and that doesn't really work because the negative amount just causes another default. So so this DSRA change really should be, we should be careful with that. And I'm going to pause the damn video because it's a little bit hairy. I think we should have put this DSRA changed and just took the and perhaps the DSRA funding should only really come the negative funding should come from only the amount. Okay, so let's pause just a minute. Well, something new every day. That's what I like about this life. If we make this minimum, I've hardly ever done this. I don't think I've ever done this. If I make this minimum of that of 0, it will only take the negative numbers. Maximum will only take the positive numbers. This will only take the negative numbers, and it will leave them as negative. And so what we'll do is we'll split the DSRA withdrawals, and if it's negative, or in other words, we're getting cash, we'll throw that up here, and then we'll put cash after debt service account. Okay, and then that's another subtotal, of course. This one minus this one. Oops. Excuse me, that was wrong. Okay, and then we'll put remaining cash flows, and then we'll put withdrawals from the cash account, and then we'll put less top-ups of DSRA. Okay, and then that we will just do when we'll take the maximum. This is the minimum of this number, or the excuse me, funding balance. Just we take the smaller. Excuse me. We can only top it up when we have positive cash flow. Okay. Why I don't use my own rules sometimes, and then it's only we take the minimum of either this positive cash flow or the amount we're trying to put in, which is here. Okay. Now on this one I should have taken this account instead of this account. Okay, and then I thought that our rule was we should have not violated the rule, because we'll take this plus this as the amount we can actually take out. So again, it comes from the cash flow statement. This one, so we had to top it up. We had some cash to top it up, and of course I've got to subtract that from the total, and then we finally took it out. Okay, so the rules are over and over again the same thing, and I need to take this. Now if I would have forgotten to do this, the balance sheet wouldn't have blah blah blah. So let's kind of see what happens. In the first period, we took some out of the DSRA. Next period, did we really have enough cash flow to pay off things? I suppose we did. So we put it back and top it up. This one, we had some negative cash flow, so we take it out. I'm not quite sure. If something doesn't look right to me, because shouldn't have gone up and down like that. But this one has to take it from here. Okay, and there are some of the principles. Now I'm gonna pause this while I see what's okay. Let's fix things one at a time. Put my headphones on. The first thing, this was an important one. When I withdrew from the debt service reserve account, excuse me, not from the debt service, from the debt service account, when we put some deposits in for the current period, this happens a lot. The minimum, so we said, okay, we'll take the minimum just a second. Maybe I didn't do it right, but we took the minimum of 160. It's just 60, I-60, which is the opening balance. But you put this deposit in just before you had the thing, so the test should have been the minimum plus the amount you put in for the current period. That happens a lot. So that was a stupid little error on my part, maybe a big error. So now we kind of have a more logical thing where it goes down, and we still have to, so we have to take some money out of the DSRA for the first two periods, and then we'll, after we have that, now, oof, shit, this doesn't look good either, because this amount should have been, it should have never been negative. So, you know, instead of struggling that with you, I'm going to just fix that and explain what I did. But now we're, you know, kind of getting a flavor for the cash flow waterfall. The next thing we'll do is put in a cash flow sweep. Okay? Okay. So, wait. Here was the little thing. It didn't take me. This one, I'm not lying, it didn't take me very long. This top up, we should have put another maximum. I've never done that. But we only, since we took the negative here, we took the maximum here. And remember that these funding, this comes from these two lines. Remember, this comes from this line. Remember, when we put withdrawals, this was down from below. This was down from below. You didn't see it, but it was. I think if you press Control there, how does that work? Oops. That work? Oh shit, I can't do it. Okay, Control right bracket, you know, to find this stuff. Open bracket. Okay, and now let's just kind of see what happens. So we go to the kind of end here, and we get to the end, and we have this big cash flow. Some people say, well, you should refinance this cash flow. That's an interesting concept to say, well, why did we really pay off all the debt? Why don't we pay off, in our repayments, have not the debt fully repaid, so you could use the very last debt payment. The last debt payment could come from the debt service reserve account. Those are much more interesting issues than what we've been working on, but we're just getting our cash flow waterfall put together. So I'm going to save this, and this time I'm going to call it monthly cash flow waterfall. Okay, and then we'll the next thing we'll do is put some kind of cash sweep in. So instead of allowing these things to go to dividends, perhaps we want to sweep the cash flow, and there's all sorts of kind of debates about how you should set the cash sweep percent and blah blah blah. And we can also put in a cash trap account. So if the debt service coverage ratio is below a certain amount, we won't allow you to pay. And I'm not going to put a forward one in to get our silly circular reference, okay? And let's stop this.